Well, hello lovely humans. Today we are going to talk about food trucks. Food trucks have popped up onto the wedding scene over the last, decade or so. I have no idea how long they've been on the scene. But it seems like it's a growing trend that's here to stay. So I figured we should take some time, sit down, and chat through some of the pros and cons of hiring a food truck for your catering service. The first thing you're going to want to think through, and this may sound pretty obvious, is parking. Where is the truck going to be in relation to your guests, in relation to your reception space? Is it going to be a quick, short walk? Is it going to be something that feels like about half a mile from table to Truckside? Be practical about it. If it's going to be a really long walk, perhaps a food truck isn't the best option for you, or you can request for them to serve buffet style. Timing is of the essence. This trend has caught on and it's become ridiculously cool, but they started as a mobile restaurant. They did not start as a catering service that was keen on timing. And that's super important to think through. I don't know about you, but I've certainly been at food trucks before that's taken me 15 minutes from the time I place my order to the time I actually receive my meal. On a regular jolly old Saturday afternoon when we're perusing the farmer's market, I don't mind as much. But when I'm at a wedding and I'm waiting for my grub because I want to get my dance on, that becomes a little bit more of an issue. So when you're talking with food trucks, be sure to ask how many guests they can serve in a half-hour period. If you have 150 guests and they can only serve 100 per hour, that means it's an hour and a half from the very first plate to the very last plate being served. I don't know about you, but if I'm that last person, I'm pissed. So be sure to ask those important questions. What does your timing look like? How quickly can you crank through X amount of guests? I think 20 to 30 minutes first plate to last plate is prima. Food trucks also have a myriad of options, which is wonderful, again, on a Saturday afternoon at the farmer's market. However, when you have 150 guests that you need to feed in 20 to 30 minutes, it is in your best interest to make sure that they limit the options that they have available. So meet with them beforehand, pick out a few meals that you prefer, and make sure they stock only those items. Another great idea is to either have a menu available at each place setting, so guests have a little bit of time to kind of plan ahead and decide what they would like. You don't get that lollygagging person at the front of the line. We all know that kind of person. You hate when you get stuck behind them at Starbucks because they want the barista to explain everything on the menu. But in case you have the random lollygagger in your crew, you want to make sure that they are well informed of the menu options before they get up there. A great idea to also circumvent Senor Lollygagger is to send out meal options with your invitation. Much like traditional weddings where guests would RSVP for beef versus chicken, you can ask them ahead of time what their meal preference would happen to be. And then it gives you a better head count to then give to the food truck. Obviously, you're still gonna need a little bit of a buffer on top of that, but it gives you a better idea of the amount of food you might need. Also a great idea if you're gonna have multiple food trucks. It gently lets your guests know that there are going to be options, but you're requesting that they give you the option that they prefer ahead of time, and then you hope that overall morality and guilt keeps them in line for the meal that they chose to begin with. Another thing to think through is how you want the meal to be served. Doing it Truckside has this great vibe, this great feel, but if you have people in evening gowns trucking it out to an alleyway to stand outside a very hot food truck, it may not be the most ideal situation. You may want to talk to them ahead of time about planning buffet service instead. They may not be equipped to handle plated service where they bring the plates to everyone's table, but if you can talk them into doing it buffet style, you could potentially circumvent the need to send all of your guests outside into a dark alley where they could get jumped. You may like the Truckside experience and you may want your guests to hoof it about half a mile on out there, but always keep in mind that buffet may be a whole lot simpler. But you also lose the whole food truck appeal. I don't know. Red or blue pill. Another thing to consider is what will the meal actually be served on? Are you renting china and flatware, or are you going to use disposable options instead? In my experience, most food trucks come with disposable options as a part of their package, but if you are interested in serving on something a little nicer, you may want to consider renting plates and flatware from another source. Which brings me to my next point. If you're hiring a food truck, that means that you don't have bussers for your tables, and that's a pretty big deal. If I had a nickel for every time I had to stay and bus a table at an event, I'd probably have 30 cents. But it's still 6 times. Some food trucks do this, which is great. I worked with Kogi recently. based out of LA, I think. They bust the tables and we loved them for it. Just another thing to keep in mind, who's gonna handle the mess afterwards? Because they're not like a normal catering service. And since they are not like a normal catering service, they don't offer all of the perks that a catering service typically does, including bussing tables. Catering services provide their own tables and linens for serving. They also provide a service staff to help serve the food and bus the tables. When you get a food truck, most of the time it's 2 or 3 bodies inside the truck prepping the food as fast as possible. In the end, if you decide that you need to hire a crew to serve that, you end up creating kind of your own catering company thing from scratch, including renting tables and linens and servingware and things of that nature. So in the end, it may not be as cost effective as you initially planned. Lastly, some food trucks don't have contracts. So if you are the type of bride that really likes to read through contracts and know exactly what you're getting into, this may not be the right choice for you. Now, some offer them, and it's great, and they're jumping on the wedding train, and they understand that contracts in this kind of situation are really important. But others just kind of say, how many people, when do you need me, and give me a deposit, I'll be there. That doesn't mean that they're going to be any less great. They're probably still going to be fantastic, and your guests are going to be wowed, and the food's going to be great, but I think contracts are really important. So that's a good conversation to have with a food truck before you sign up with them. Do you have a contract? Are you willing to sign a contract? Again, Saturday afternoon at a farmer's market, not really necessary to have a contract for something like that. But catering a wedding for 150 people and wanting to make sure that the food is there and shows up on time, that's where it gets to be a little more important. So there you have it, a few little insights into hiring a food truck for catering your event. I hope this helps you out. If you have any questions or comments or food truck experiences that have just been phenomenal or not phenomenal, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys, so let me know what you think. As always, give us a follow on some of our social medias. And if you have more questions about this or any other topic we might cover, feel free to shoot me an email. I do consultation hours with brides all the time, so I'd love to chat with you. And I don't know how to sign off. I need a sign off. What should my sign off be? Oh my gosh, this thing's choking me. And I look like Pinhead Larry. Can we talk about the fact that it's fall? It's fall and I'm so excited! Even though it's gonna be like 92 degrees today. Oh well, whatever. It's fall. I'm pumped. Okay, bye guys!